So welcome to Transform Gov, where we share real-life stories on how technology and data are changing our public services, how they're designed, how they're delivered, and how they are experienced. In every episode, we go straight to the source, and that is the leaders making the calls and the teams getting it done. Transform Gov is part of the Ireland eGovernment Awards, and it's brought to you in partnership with Accenture. My name is Maeve Kneafsey, and today we're joined by winners of the 2025 Ireland eGovernment Awards for Open Data for StoryMaps project, which I'll tell you all about, or not me, my colleagues here will tell us all about, which was an entry actually our judges really, really loved and found incredibly engaging. So we'll hear more. So it's from Galway County Council, and I'm delighted to welcome Marie Mannion, who's the Heritage Officer, and Brídín Feeney, who is part of the GIS team. So you're very welcome, Marie, and of course, Brídín.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much.
So you can hear that Marie is joining us remotely, but we've got Brídín here in the studio. So let's just start at the very beginning. So for anyone who hasn't come across it yet, and I hope they will look at it if they haven't, what exactly is StoryMaps?
So StoryMaps it's basically a technology that you can use to digitize information online. So it's kind of a collection of various different
I suppose it's different formats, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can do video,
Photos,
written content, yes.
locations, maps. And so Marie, our Heritage Officer, over many, many years was collecting lots of data from various different heritage groups, and we were doing them and printing them up on paper maps. So I
suppose you're bringing technology to something that you were doing anyway. And what gap actually, Marie, you might answer this one. What gap were you trying to fix, or what problem were you trying to fix when you decided to go and digitize through StoryMaps?
I suppose the reason we started using StoryMaps was they had a multiplicity of uses, and also they served a multiplicity of solutions for us. For example, traditional print media, once you print it and if there's a mistake in it or you want to update it, it's very, very costly to do so. Secondly, we wanted to make sure that our communities throughout the county of Galway had a digital presence online for both the communities and the diaspora. And that's becoming increasingly important. So we had all this information, and we did a lot of really valuable work undertaken by members of the community and also experts on different aspects of the heritage of the county. And we wanted to bring it to a wider audience, but also to give pride of place to people in their communities so that they could feel that, wow, there is my place. This is the information about my place, and it's up online. And I think StoryMaps really deliver that.
I suppose we've just changed, haven't we, completely? If we think about the way we engage with information, like we don't use booklets, right? And were you finding that there was a whole big change in terms of how people were engaging with anything to do with their local county, whether it be a tourist or somebody living there?
Absolutely. Huge change. And the thing is, there's really high quality information gathered, because at the end of the day, what makes a story map a good story map or a bad story map is the detail, the level of detail and the information you collect. So a story map is only as good as the data and the information you collect. So we had very, very high quality information. And also, I suppose the other part of it was the public facing aspect of StoryMap allows you to bring together different media. So, for example, it allows you to bring text, it allows you to bring photographs, video, audio, and to put them all into one place, because that was another problem for us, in the sense that you'd have information about a certain place, could be a town or a village, but some information might be up on YouTube channel, others might be kind of in a traditional print format. And yet again, others might be in a, kind of maybe photograph, or might be postcard. So it allowed us to bring all this information together in one place and to make it more accessible to people.
Yes. And I suppose we should probably explain to people, if they haven't seen it, isn't it, Brídín, very much based on location information. It's a bit like maps, right? And Google Maps.
Correct. Yeah. So there's various different ones, I suppose. For me, being a GIS background, location is kind of the core element of it. But it's also very much a heritage side of things as well. Like, I suppose the information is heritage. So, but say that we've got various different town heritage trails that are on it. So there's a map included on that. And the great thing about it is that it's accessible, over various different formats. So you could have it on your laptop, or you could be actually out on the ground on your phone, and you can actually follow the heritage trail as you go along. Another project we worked on were the biodiversity story maps, and again, that's very much location based. And you're actually out there. So one of them was the Carnagapple bog up in North Galway, and you can actually follow the different points of interest as you go around. And we've included things like bird songs and sounds in it. So as you're going around, even though you mightn't see the bird actually there, you can be listening to it. So it's very
evocative, isn't it?
Interactive experience. Yeah.
Well, look, I think before we start getting into some more of the nitty gritty, we're going to take a very quick break for a message from our partner. So we'll be back in a few moments.
Through the power of cloud, data and AI, Accenture is helping the public sector by blending human ingenuity, technology and a delivery-focused culture to turn their ambitions into action. Be ready for any challenge by adopting a continuous reinvention mindset to deliver human-centric services that adapt and grow with your needs. Contact the team at Accenture to find out more.
So in practice, who is actually using what you've created?
Oh, there's, so many different stakeholders. And again, it's like Marie was saying, it's not just local Irish people, because it's online and it's publicly available. People from all over the world have interacted with them. And it goes from that very much international aspect right down to the very local things. So some of the projects that we did, Marie, I suppose, is the core person for collecting the content. So she got children of a local national school involved in one of the projects that we have up there. So they went out and they took the photographs that were included in it. It goes from a very, very local level right to the international level, and it goes from very young people to all age groups really across the board, and various different backgrounds. So Marie might have more.
I suppose one of the things is that it's endless, isn't it? I mean, if you do a booklet, that's going to be, how many booklets can you get out there? But this is all in one place.
Yeah.
And I presume, the cost must be much reduced. And would their cost be reduced?
Yeah, so the StoryMap solution is actually part of an overall Esri enterprise solution that we use for GIS and Galway County Council. So it was actually already available to us. And our GIS officer was speaking to us, and he was saying, he would have been aware that I would have been creating maps for these booklets. So he suggested that, why don't we make this digital? You have all the content there basically ready to go anyway. And it was just a question of getting it together in the one place and me publishing it up there.
But Marie, I suppose a big part for you was that you're really handing over the work in a way, or enabling people rather than handing over the work in the local communities, or part of who the originators of the content, to really create and develop and add the content. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I suppose the big thing is just to look at people's faces when they see their information up online, it's like it takes over. It gives them, they look at it in a totally different way, and you can see the pride and kind of that we did it and this is our place. And Brídín mentioned cost, and you mentioned cost there, Maeve. Mm-hmm. Cost is a huge thing. And we have a lot of small peripheral communities, like tiny groups in tiny places. They're not even, they're not even towns or villages. And this is a game changer for them, because you might only have a few people, and to fundraise for a publication, like any print media now, is going to cost a few grand. But the thing about it is, they see their place up there in the lights, and they get, they are, you can see it, they show it to all their different members of their community. They're sharing it on WhatsApp, they're sharing it via email. And then when they get feedback as well from people outside, such as diaspora or other people that use it, might be academia, they are so chuffed, and you can see people being 10 feet high and looking at their place. And really, I suppose one of the things that comes to mind is, we have, every year we have University of Galway students come on a placement with me for 6 months, and we got them to tell the story of Townlands. We have them working on about 2,000 Townlands kind of digitised now, and kind of in the story format, a number of principal records, 1901, 1911 census, but getting the school involved. And the day we launched it, the principal of the school put it on the big screen in the school for all the kids. And he just said to me that you could hear a pin drop and they didn't want to leave school. So that kind of tells you everything.
Yeah, because everything is
really does.
In a way so global, isn't it? Because the internet enables that. But this is kind of bringing it really down to use of technology to kind of, even the smallest thing can tell its own story, excuse the pun, through it. And I know you were talking about things that you could go quite narrow, you could go quite wide. You were even looking at, was it Holy Wells you were telling me about that you're going to start adding to the story maps?
Yeah, we have got funding from the Heritage Council and Galway County Council now to create a story map of Holy Wells. And, kind of, I suppose, we have the information collected on a system called Survey 123. And then just sitting down with Brídín and talking about how we make it available, like it was a no-brainer to go down the story map route, because we have podcasts and we have films. So when we bring those all together, and put them into one place, it really heightens people's awareness and knowledge and pride in the Holy Wells, or will do. So we're starting that project now, but you can do it for absolutely anything. And all the time we're asking questions ourselves. Like, you look at what has been created, but you're also asking questions. How can we do it better? Is there anything else we can do? Are there other aspects of heritage we can bring in? And also as well, for local community, they might, if it was a traditional publication, print publication, they might come to you and say, oh, I forgot to add, it might be a graveyard, or they might have forgot to add a ring fort or some other little bit of information. And the great thing about Story Map is you can change that instantly, and that you can add to it. So, and we're all the time reinventing our story maps and looking at what other content we can put into it. And communities are rising to the challenge and they want to be trained up in it. Like, this is, for us as well, say for me particularly, because I don't come from a technical background, but when Barry Doyle, the former head of GIS, spoke to us about story mapping, it took me a while to get it into my head what it was about. But the minute I saw it in practice, it was a game changer for me. And now communities are the same. They want training. They're looking for training.
That's a perfect segue into the challenges for you, because it wasn't just, here's a piece of technology, here's an idea, off you go. I mean, you really did have to support the groups to enable them. So what are the practical steps that involved for you?
Yeah. Well, I suppose for me, it's collecting the information and making sure that data is correct and that it's reliable and it's from, good sources. And a huge part of that is again back to Marie and the work she does. No fake news. Yes. No. And like even simple things like copyright. So you'll have people that say, oh, we'd love to include this photo. But, we need to make sure that the correct person, the owner of the photo, is credited for it. And we do our absolute utmost to do that. And, there's you can have mistakes, but
but you can fix them. I mean,
exactly.
I presume you were mentioning earlier on there, Marie, that you can add to, if something is a mistake, but actually you can add to it just in terms of new information comes to light. Like, I presume the 1926 census now might throw new information that you can add to the different.
And one of the projects we worked on as well was, I want to say it was last year, but it could have been 2 years ago at this stage, was we did a story map in English, and we also did an Irish version on the Mannion clan. So they meet up once a year, and so they have their story map there, and it started off with the basic points of interest that they had, and so they can add on to it every year the more information they find. It's a very fluid process. So it can start off as something very simple, and then over various years, they might do YouTube, or I know Marie has done sound podcasts and interviews, so they can all be added into it as well.
And did you have particular partners to support you when you were developing story maps?
Galway County Council was the GIS team, and I know, Marie, do you want to list off all the various different people?
We'd have different partners, but I suppose essentially our biggest partners are the community groups. within the county. We have a really great network of really incredible volunteers at community level. And they've engaged with us kind of, I suppose I'm 26 years in the local authority now, but we have absolutely incredible groups that have stood with us, and they see it as a partnership, and they learn with us, and they want to learn and they want to know more. And also, if they see something that's kind of new and innovative, they share it and they look to us for a bit of guidance and that, kind of how to bring things on. But
I think you're underplaying the amount of work you do to get them up to speed. So do you do workshops with them? Do you have online training? How do you actually practically help them to get good quality content and make sure it's usable?
First of all, every single group and every single project is different. So you have to sit down and you have to understand what their want and need is, and kind of work that through with them. It's like if you're building a house and if you haven't got your drawings and your foundation isn't right, well then nothing else will be. So that, a big part of it is sitting down with the community, working out a system, working out what it is they want to record. Quite a number of community groups in the county, we have worked with them on heritage audits. And in a lot of instances, we'd have brought in a heritage professional to work with them, and then applied to agencies like the Heritage Council or Galway Rural Development or Forum Connemara, the two leader companies in the county, took for some money from them. Also, the Decade of Centenary's money, we looked at that for developing, kind of the, we'll say the 1916 trail of County Galway. But basically, even before you have money or you have agencies, there's a huge amount of work sitting down. There's a lot of sitting down, listening, talking, and then looking at what skills are needed, what information is needed to be collected, looking at skills of the community groups and what you need to buy in. We also would run training for how to write for the web. Where to find photographs that you can use that are not going to be copyright infringed. So there's a huge amount of work back and forth, but the dividends are, you can really see the dividends now in the sense that we've very skilled people and they know what to do. And then the other thing is, I suppose, when a group in a community if they see StoryMap in one place, then they want to do it. And then it's kind of, they want to work with this. And I suppose our biggest thing is capacity. But we're also asking our own heritage groups to help out other groups in the county, and that's happening. So we see ourselves as a little family, a mehel of people coming together to help each other. So that, first and foremost, it's not about money, really. It's about everybody working together towards developing a quality product. And I think Brídín mentioned it there a while ago. The data is important, and us to make sure that the quality of the data that we collect and that we present is authoritative, and also that you can stand by it. So that's a huge thing. So we check absolutely everything before it goes up. That doesn't mean to say that there won't be a mistake in it. If there is, we'll change it and we'll update it. But you have to have quality control.
And in terms of, just thinking about it must have been, you've got a different animal now that you're managing, if you like. Because before, let's imagine the older world, you've probably got some stuff on your website, you've probably got booklets, you've probably got electronic PDFs and all that. Yeah. But now you've got an interactive live map that kind of it brings everything to life. But do you as a team, did you have to change how you managed it, how you scaled it? Because it sounds like there is hand-holding at the beginning. To have and then of course there's technology. So has that reshaped, how you do things?
I would say no, because no, up to a point. I suppose like what I would see is that Marie now is very much moving away from the one-off. This is a project, we collect the data, and then it sits there on a table, and nobody gets to see it or get to use it. So I'm sorry for speaking for you, Marie, but I can see her very much as a kind of nearly technology first side of things, where she's at the very start of a project. She's thinking, how can we make this available, and how can we keep this updated, and how can we make this usable and accessible to people? For me, it's very much I don't have to go chasing Marie, wondering, I hear you're doing this project, how about I do this? She's very much, I'm doing this project. Are you okay to come on board to?
Yeah. And tell me, is the technology, fairly user friendly? I mean,
very user-friendly.
But that's always good to hear. And why do you think it's user-friendly? What aspects of it?
So it's moved away from the whole coding and, websites, very technical kind of thing. So it's very much you press a button and you this button with a picture to add a picture, and you press this button to add a text. Mm-hmm. So it's more about the difficult side of things that I would see is gathering the content, which is Marie was doing all that very good stuff anyway, and to a very high quality level. So then it's just a question of just adding it in. It's very, very, very user friendly.
So if you were looking to the future, this is a question to both of you. What are your kind of aspirations for what happens next? Both the kind of practical and also maybe the visionary.
Well, I suppose from my side of the house, we've got to a level now, and the next level is training our community groups, kind of both, kind of in a measured way, training them in how to create their own story maps, and that they have more, kind of that they can make more decisions, do you know what I mean? That they can quality control, because we've really good groups. We are very fortunate that a lot of our groups are members of ICANN, Irish Community Archive Network, which is a kind of partnership project between the National Museum of Ireland, as a number of local authorities. We're one of the first to be involved with them, and the Heritage Council. But all of those groups are, have received huge training over the years, so they know a lot about ethics. They know a lot about data collection. They know a lot about heritage research, and they know about how to present material. Like we've run courses as well, over the past few years for them, on how to record, how to undertake oral history and podcasts, how to make a video on your smartphone. So all those skills, and over those few years, kind of you can see them now coming to the fore, and groups having all these skills and wanting to learn more. So as we speak tomorrow, there's there's 5 University of Galway students and a number of community volunteers going to be trained up on how to create a story map. So the students, we've been doing that for the past, Brídín and I have been doing that for the past 3 years. But the community groups, they came and asked me in the past month or two, could they get involved? And I know I have a queue of others waiting. As well as that, working with Galway Rural Development, they're running a training course at the moment, and we're partnering with them. And the Heritage Consultant is working with a number of community groups and teaching them how to collect the data, but this time how to collect it for presentation on a story map. So that's the difference.
Very good, very good.
Kind of moving in that lines, yeah.
Yeah, and from a GIS point of view, I suppose the story maps we've really focused on using them with the heritage team so far, but there's so much potential there across the local authority to use it in various different ways, because I suppose it's nearly it's an educational tool. Mm-hmm. So anything that has to do with location can be added into it. Yeah. So
opening up the whole county.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And I know other local authorities have had very innovative ways of using them. I know with the local elections, I think it was at Waterford County Council had a fabulous, and I think Donegal County Council had a fabulous story map. Kind of, and giving live updates as the voting was going on, like so. I am very interested to see. Yeah, finding different ways of using it.
And I presume because it's open source, costs are low, right? But also there must be ways in which, let's say, Waterford does a whole story map in similar themes to your own around heritage. You could then join together and kind of all the way across Ireland tell a story, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you looked at doing any sort of joint ventures like that with some of the other counties?
I will be for next year.
Okay, good. Because, nothing to do next year.
There's a few initiatives, and we're looking. I suppose you see, Galway's such a big county that kind of. So if you go from we'll say my yard, kind of even we'll say Inishbofin on one side down to Clonfert on the other side, you're like 150 kilometres. So us as a county, like Connemara is bigger than I think 16 Irish counties.
Wow. So
for us, getting our communities, it binds communities within the county, but so we're not like a smaller space that, kind of we're a big county, and we're seeing the story maps, at a big county level, gelling communities and gelling, kind of like, say, like the Holy Wells. We undertook that audit. It has taken us 5 years of work. And because we have 5 municipal districts, so we audit the information by municipal district. So when you go from one side of the county to the other, just people's perspective is different. What you find in the various places is very different. So even within our own county, like, it's really important. And that you also, what it does as well is it highlights things that are the same and also shows differences. But I have a few projects in mind. There's a big year next year, the year of the Normans. So I might be
the year of the Normans.
Yes, we might be linking up with other Norman towns to do something. So it has so many, as Brídín said, it has so many possibilities, and we're learning every day. We're learning, and you look at it, and every time we do something, you review it, But I think something Brídín said earlier, it's very important to factor it in from the beginning. So before I start a project, I would sit down with Brídín and discuss it out with her. And we discuss, even from the previous ones, what went well, what didn't go well, how could we improve it. So there's lots of things. And also look at if there's new features on the Esri system, because they're all the time improving. And what can we do to capitalise on it, So there's always innovation and something new. And there's, you can use it for a myriad of different uses.
So I suppose you've started already answering a question, because I was going to ask you, if somebody else is starting to do a story map, maybe within the same context as your own, what do's and don'ts. And from the first do, I think, is that you two have different skills, but you seem to work extremely closely together. So it's a team. But what else would you say really matters if you're giving advice to somebody starting with a story map tomorrow?
I think it's like all these things. When you look at what we have up there and collected up there now, it's huge, and it can seem a bit daunting. But we literally started off with, I think we had 3 heritage trails that Marie had already collected all the data for, and so we just started with those ones because they were the easy ones to do. We had the images, we had the videos, we had all the content there ready to go. So yeah, we started the first few of them were very simple ones, and they've grown. So like Marie was saying there, like, those audits take years. So yeah, what I would recommend is just do it.
Start with the content you have. And Marie, what about engaging different communities and getting them involved? Was that a hard job or an easy job?
No, it's, I suppose we're lucky that we've a really good network of heritage groups in the county, and it would be something that I'd have been fostering from when I started in the council, kind of that, just getting groups working together, and, they have a great track record of coming together. And I suppose we're lucky in the sense that we've really great volunteers, and also, kind of they're learning from each other. They give each other as well really good feedback. And even looking at, I can send out any of my story maps to any of the groups, to groups, and say, can you give me feedback on this? And they won't be long coming back telling you, this is good, this is not so good. Maybe you have too much text there. So we have a whole, I suppose, resource in our communities, and we're very lucky in the sense that we have extremely competent people working in a voluntary capacity in the heritage communities. We're also very lucky that we have 2 universities in Galway, both the University of Galway and Atlantic Technological University Galway, because there was a PhD candidate doing a PhD on an element of the War of Independence in County Galway, and as part of her PhD work, she undertook a story map. So it was very much the applied part of a PhD, which is new. And that we had a query, actually last night I got a query. Somebody came looking for information on the War of Independence, a student in another university, and I was able to say, here's all this. And she has video, she's absolutely everything up there. So that's the applied part as well, as well as we're looking at communities. The fact that, and it was ATU and the PhD candidate worked with us to develop that particular story map. And now it's being used for historical, for somebody that's doing a dissertation at a master's, thesis at a master's level. And
everything's so accessible, right? I mean, you don't even have to, in a way, dig anywhere, do you? It's there, it's available, and it's open.
Yeah.
And just in terms of, so anyone who's listening and they're thinking, okay, I hear the technology is easy to use, right? I can see how Marie engaged and the support she's given the heritage groups and everybody else who wants to get involved. But did you have to bring in new skills into the team to do this in terms of budget? Did it change the budget?
It was, I suppose, it didn't, because it was included as part of of the technology we were using anyway, Galway County Council. So we have an Esri enterprise solution there. So the technology was there. It was just me sitting down trying to figure out how it could be used and what was the best way to use it. And yeah, it was very much trial and error and learning at that stage. But that's the nature of technology, is you're constantly learning new things.
So no new hires anyway to enable you to do this, or did you, Marie?
Well, I suppose just some of the things we would do, like you'd be very conscious that you're building digital products. So you'd want your communities to be very upskilled in what they're doing. So I suppose the only additional cost, but like they weren't just for this project, they'd be for other projects, would be where we would bring in, kind of like say, how to undertake a proper oral heritage project, where you'd have the output would be, kind of an interview with somebody, because that can be uploaded. Or, kind of creating film, kind of a good quality film on your smartphone. So, but they weren't just for story maps, but they really help because the presentation then of the material is high quality. So there's little bits like that. And we're all the time looking to see, do any of our communities need to be upskilled? Where I see it into the future is we probably, because I'm just looking at our own resources, we probably need to buy in resources where we're training our communities up on how to use it, kind of the system properly. And, I suppose they're very well versed in ethics and everything. So there isn't really a cost in that. But into the future, we may, kind of need to train more people up as it scales up.
And certainly, when you look at it, I don't think you could have ever done any of this except electronically in terms of the scale of what you got and the quality. So if anyone hasn't been prompted now, I definitely say look at story maps in terms of the context of Galway County Council, because you go in and it's so deep. You click on a little, what looks like a small area, and then it just explodes, and it's fascinating. And I'm sure it's really successful for the communities themselves. But look, Marie and Brídín, I can't believe it's the end of the interview, but thank you so much for coming in. And you really have brought to life something that's very local, but also incredibly powerful in terms of a digital resource. So thank you for joining us, and we hope that you have something to enter again this year. So to you, if you think this is of interest to your colleagues, please share it. We would love to see more people listening to this podcast. There's loads more to listen to on previous episodes of Transform Gov. And I would very much like to thank the team here. As always, it's studio manager Peter Rice, video editor Neil Horner, sound engineer Lee Brennan, and videographer Richie Ryan. And thank you very much to Marie and Brídín for joining us.
And thank you very much. And I would just like to say as well, I would encourage anybody who has anything that they would become involved with the Transform Gov Awards ceremony, because it was a fascinating day out. It was just incredible to see all the various different innovative projects, and it was a real honour to be part of it.
Well, it's great that it wasn't me saying it this time. So I'm going to remind you that the Ireland eGovernment Awards are open for entries, which is what Brídín's referring to. The closing date's the 22nd of May. Projects can be any size. It doesn't have to be a big budget or anything like that. It's really more the impact that you make. If you've got a pilot with some proof evidence of what's happened, you can enter that as well. So go to our website, which is digitalgovawards.com. And all the entry is online. So register, get yourself started, and you can save it and come back and go back to it later. So thanks for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Transform Gov.